Welcome back to Dating Decode, everyone. I'm Jake.
And I'm Mia, and we are so excited to have you joining us again for another deep dive into the fascinating, sometimes baffling world of human connection.
That's right, Mia. Today, we're tackling something that sounds deceptively simple, but it's actually one of the most crucial moments in any potential relationship, whether it's romantic, platonic, whatever. It's all about that initial interaction.
Exactly. We're talking about the art, and dare I say the science, of just saying hi. You know, that very first step when you meet someone new, especially when you feel that spark and you want to make a really great first impression. It's often where people feel the most anxiety, actually.
Absolutely. It's such a foundational moment, isn't it? And for a lot of guys out there, that initial approach, that simple hello, can feel like climbing Mount Everest. But what we're going to explore today on Dating Decode is that there's a real psychology behind this. It's not just random.
It's true. There are actually some incredibly insightful strategies that can help make that first interaction not just easier, but genuinely more effective. We'll be breaking down various approaches, looking at the thought processes behind them, and hopefully giving you some really practical takeaways to boost your confidence.
Yeah, because, it's all about authenticity and connecting genuinely. But sometimes you just need a little nudge, a little framework to get past that initial barrier. So get ready to decode the power of the hello with us. This is Dating Decode.
So, Jake, when we talk about just saying hi, it sounds simple, right? But the strategies for making that first connection, they actually have quite a history, don't they? They've really evolved over time.
Oh, absolutely, Mia. It's fascinating, really. It wasn't always this structured, I guess you could say. If you look back, way back to the 70s, there were these early guides like Eric Weber's How to Pick Up Girls. And, the title alone tells you it was pretty direct, right?
Yeah, definitely sounds like a product of its time, but it really laid some groundwork for direct approaches, didn't it? Just, walk up and say something straightforward.
Exactly. And then it started gaining more momentum, I suppose, with people like Ross Jeffries in the late 80s, who introduced ideas around verbal persuasion, if you will, to build connection. It was about creating interest in a slightly different way.
Right. So it wasn't just go say hi anymore. It started getting a little more nuanced, a bit more psychological, even. And then I remembered that really big moment was around 2005 with Neil Strauss's book, The Game. That really kind of blew things open, didn't it? Brought these ideas to a much wider audience.
It really did. That book detailed these more structured methods, like something called the mystery method, which was developed by Eric von Markovic. And that's where you start seeing specific, almost step-by-step processes for approaching someone, like, initiating contact within a few seconds to project confidence. That 3-second rule idea, that's still echoed today.
Oh, the 3-second rule. I've definitely heard of that. It's about not overthinking it, just going for it. And it sounds like the consistent goal has always been about building confidence for the person initiating and trying to create a connection, even if the methods change.
Totally. It shifted from these initial, very direct guides to more refined techniques designed to help people who might be a bit shy or socially anxious just get over that initial hurdle. It was always about, how do I start a conversation? How do I show interest without, fumbling?
And it's still evolving too, isn't it? From those in-person boot camps and things, now we see a lot of this information, these tips on digital platforms like TikTok, people sharing bite-sized bits of advice on how to make a good first impression. It's become so accessible.
Yeah, and that accessibility is a double-edged sword, right? Because while it helps a lot of people, it also opens up these conversations to criticism. You have some people who see these strategies as genuinely helpful tools for overcoming social anxiety, and others who, they argue that it can sometimes mask less genuine intention.
Yeah, that tension is definitely part of the landscape. You see people like Richard Laruna, who started out in that world, now rebranding as a dating coach, really trying to focus on genuine connection. But then you have feminist perspectives from people like Clarice Thorne, who really look at some of the older techniques and say, hey, this feels a bit manipulative.
Right, so there's always that back and forth. But what's important, I think, is that at its core, the drive behind all these methods from the 70s until now is to empower people, to initiate conversations, to build confidence, and ultimately to make a connection with someone new. It's just the how that gets debated and evolves.
Yeah, it's about getting past that initial awkwardness and, well, effectively saying hi in a way that opens the door to something more. And that's what we're really digging into today.
Exactly. And that's a perfect segue, Mia, because now that we've talked about the history, let's really zoom in on that absolute first step, the power of that initial hello. I mean, it sounds so simple, right? Just hi. But it's so vital, isn't it?
Oh, it's everything, really. That first hello isn't just a greeting, it's the entire entry point, the doorway to any potential interaction. It's it's designed to kind of shatter that initial social barrier, to just break the ice.
Absolutely. And when you think about it, it's not just about breaking the ice, it's also about establishing a certain frame, a certain vibe right from the get go. Are you confident? Are you intriguing? Are you someone they want to talk to? All of that is kind of bundled into that very first impression.
Yeah, it's like a mini performance in a way. You're trying to convey almost instantly that you're approachable, that you're present, and that you have something to offer to this conversation. It sets the tone for everything that follows.
Exactly. And there's definitely a psychological underpinning to it. When you initiate that first contact, you're trying to create a sense of comfort or maybe even a little bit of intrigue that makes the other person want to engage further. It's about making them feel at ease or curious so they don't just like immediately shut down.
Right. Because if you fumble that first moment, it can be really hard to recover, can't it? So that high has to be intentional. It's not just a casual word, it's a deliberate act to open up a connection.
Definitely. And that's why there's so much thought put into it within this whole area of social dynamics. People really dissect what makes a good first hello. Is it direct? Is it subtle? Does it catch someone off guard in a good way? Because ultimately, it's about making that person think, oh, okay, I want to hear what this person has to say next.
Yeah, it's really the foundation. Like, if you don't nail that hello or hi, then all the follow up strategies, they don't even get a chance to come into play. It's the ultimate first step, and it dictates everything, whether you get to that next stage of connection or not.
And what's interesting is how many different ways people have come up with to deliver that crucial hello. It's not just one size fits all, is it? There's direct approaches, there are indirect approaches, and then there are observational ones, which we'll dive into. But they all serve that same purpose to get the ball rolling.
Absolutely. It's about finding what feels right for the situation and for your personality to create that initial spark. Because that first hello, that's where the magic really begins, right?
So now that we've established just how crucial that initial hello is, let's actually dive into the different ways people approach it. And first up, we have what are often called direct openers.
Ah, direct openers. These are, as the name suggests, pretty straightforward, right? No beating around the bush. It's about expressing clear, unambiguous interest right from the start.
Exactly. The whole point here is to convey confidence and intent. It's like, hey, I noticed you and I wanted to come over and say something. No ambiguity, which some people really appreciate.
Yeah, it takes a certain boldness, for sure. You're putting yourself out there. Some common minds, for instance, might be something like, hi, I saw you and thought you looked nice, so I had to say hello. Or maybe, hey, you caught my eye. I'd regret not saying hi if I didn't come over.
And that takes guts, honestly. But there are some practical tips that are often shared to make these feel more natural and less rehearsed. And one of the big ones, which you hear a lot, is what's called the 3-second rule.
Oh, the 3-second rule. That's fascinating. It's this idea that you should approach within 3 seconds of seeing someone you want to talk to prevent yourself from overthinking it. It kind of forces you to just act, you know?
It really does. It's about combating that inner monologue that can talk you out of it. And when you do that, it actually helps project confidence because you're not hesitating, you're just going for it. And another key, Mia, is maintaining good eye contact.
Absolutely. Sincere eye contact is vital because otherwise it can feel a bit robotic or like you're just reciting a line. You want to convey that you're genuinely present and interested in them. It makes all the difference for authenticity.
So let's try a little mini demonstration here. Say, Mia, you're at a coffee shop and I see you and I want to try a direct opener. I'd come up to you and say something like, "Excuse me, I just wanted to say I think you look really nice and I had to come over and introduce myself."
That's pretty direct, Jake. And then what? Do you just stand there?
Well, no, that's where the technique comes in. You usually follow it up almost immediately with an open-ended question to engage them. So after that, I might add, "What's your name, by the way?" Or, "I'm Jake. What brings you to this coffee shop today?" The idea is to keep the ball rolling.
Right. Not just a statement, but an invitation for them to respond. And I've heard some people also use something called a false time constraint after their opener, like, I've only got a minute, but I just wanted to say, to kind of reduce the pressure.
Exactly. It gives the other person a perceived easy out so they don't feel trapped, which can ironically make them more likely to engage. It's a psychological little trick, I suppose.
It's interesting how these direct approaches, while feeling bold, can actually be quite effective because they're so clear. There's no guessing game for the other person. They know exactly why you're there.
And while, yeah, they can feel a little intimidating for the person delivering the line and sometimes for the person receiving it, especially in very conservative settings, the intent is clear. And some argue clarity is actually a strength. It cuts through the noise.
Agreed. The potential pitfall is if it feels too scripted or inauthentic, that's when it can backfire. But when done with genuine eye contact and a sincere tone, like you said, it can be a really powerful way to make that very first connection. It just comes down to practice, I guess, and making it your own.
Absolutely. It's about finding that balance between courage and genuine delivery. It's not about being a robot, it's about being direct with sincerity.
So, we've talked about the bold and direct approach. Now, let's swing to the other side of the spectrum, which is often seen as a bit more smooth and, well, more subtle. We're talking about indirect openers.
Yeah, indirect openers. I think these are great for people who might feel a little more hesitant about going in with a super direct line. The whole idea here is to start with a neutral pretext, something that doesn't immediately signal romantic interest.
Exactly. It's like you're just starting a normal, everyday conversation, right? You might ask for directions or an opinion on something. So instead of, hey, I think you're attractive, it's more like, excuse me, do you know if there's a good coffee shop around here? Or what do you think of this art exhibit?
Right. It's a low risk entry point. The pressure is off for both parties because it's just a simple, innocuous question. And it can really help you ease into the interaction without feeling like you're putting someone on the spot.
For sure. It's about breaking the ice in a very casual, non threatening way. And then once they respond, that's where the technique comes in for transitioning from that neutral topic to something more personal.
This is the key, isn't it? It's not just about asking for directions and then walking away. It's about building on that initial interaction. So let's try a little role play here. Mia, say I'm trying to find a bookstore and you're just, minding your own business.
Okay, I'm ready. I'm just, browsing my phone.
All right. Excuse me. I hope you don't mind me interrupting, but I'm completely lost. Do you know where the nearest bookstore is around here?
Oh, yeah. There's a great one just 2 blocks down that way, actually. It's called the Novel Muck.
Oh, the Novel Nook. Perfect. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. By the way, I have to say, you seem really friendly. What brings you out today?
See how that works? You got the information, and then you smoothly pivoted with a compliment or an observation that leads to a personal question.
It's not a hard pivot, it feels natural. Exactly. It's not a jump out of nowhere. It's like you helped me, and now I'm acknowledging you as a person and want to know more. That what brings you out today, or what's your story, is that bridge.
And that's what helps you avoid seeming disingenuous. Because if you just ask for directions, get them, and then suddenly launch into, "So, are you single?" It's like, well, wait a minute. That was just a trick.
Absolutely. The key is that the pretext needs to feel genuine in the moment. You actually are asking for directions or an opinion. And then your follow up should be a natural extension of that interaction, not a sudden, jarring shift. It's about observing something about them or just genuinely appreciating their help and then extending that conversation.
Yeah. The trick is to make that transition fluid. And if it does feel a little forced, people can usually spot it a mile away. And then it kind of loses its magic. But when done well, these indirect openers can be incredibly effective because they're less intimidating and they allow the conversation to develop organically.
They do. It's about establishing a comfortable rapport, first of all. And then if there's a connection, you can let it grow from there. It's a more gentle way to approach someone, I think.
Definitely. It's about creating that low pressure environment for a true connection to potentially spark. We just talked about indirect, which uses a pretext. Now let's dive into observational openers. These are, in a way, even more natural because you're just commenting on something in the immediate environment.
Yeah, I love these. They're hyper contextual. You're not asking for directions, you're not going in direct, you're just noticing something around you or about the person that's easy to talk about. It makes a conversation feel less forced, almost like you just happen to comment on something in passing.
Exactly. It's about leveraging what's already there. So you might say something like, "Hey, what's up? What are you listening to? Anything good?" If they have headphones on, or "Nice jacket. What's the story behind it?" It feels very organic.
Its beauty is that it's rooted in the moment, not a pre planned line you're waiting to drop. People tend to respond well to that authenticity.
Yeah, it really does. And a key here, just like with direct openers, is maintaining strong eye contact and a confident, almost slow delivery. It shows you're present, confident, and genuinely interested in the response, not just rushing through a line.
Absolutely. And this is where avoiding yes no questions comes in super handy. You want to ask something that invites the story, not just a one word answer that closes down the conversation immediately. What's the story behind that is perfect for that.
It helps keep the engagement flowing, right? It sets you up for that 5 to 10 minutes of initial conversation, which is often what you're aiming for.
So, why don't we try a little demo? Mia, let's say we're both at a coffee shop and you're working on your laptop.
Okay, I'm deep in my work, sipping my latte.
Approaches casually. Hey, hope you don't mind me interrupting, but I couldn't help but notice that awesome graphic you have on your laptop. What kind of design work do you do?
Oh, thanks. I'm actually a freelance illustrator. I'm working on a commission for a new children's book right now.
Oh, that's really cool. An illustrator. Wow. So, what got you into that? What's your favorite part about bringing stories to life visually?
See, that wasn't a yes or no question. I couldn't just say, "Yes, I'm an illustrator," and shut it down. You asked an open ended question that invited me to share more about myself and my passion.
Exactly. It moves from the observation to their personal story or interests. It's about showing genuine curiosity, which is always appealing. Context like, since we're both here or at this event, can ground the opener.
And it avoids feeling random. It's like we're sharing the space, I notice something, and I'm engaging. It feels unforced.
It does. One small thing is they rely on having something observable to comment on. In a bland environment, it might be harder, but often there's something.
Right. But if you're observant and you're present, there's always something, a t shirt, a book, the place itself. It's about being present and tuned in.
Absolutely. It's a fantastic way to initiate contact. Natural, respectful, allowing organic conversation. It's about making that initial connection smooth and authentic. So, we've talked about the different ways to say hi, right? Direct, indirect, observational, but getting that initial hello out there is really just the first step. What happens next and how you carry yourself is just as crucial for building a deeper connection.
Absolutely. Because it's not just about the words, is it? It's about the whole package. And a huge part of that is body language and what's often called kino.
Oh, kino, yeah, which sounds a little, I don't know, intense to some people maybe, but it's really just about subtle physical cues, right? Like confidence isn't just in your voice, it's in your posture, your eye contact. Even like a brief light tap on the arm can, sort of test the waters, build a bit of a connection.
Yeah, it's about making that human connection in a nonverbal way. It helps build rapport. But it's super important to be mindful of boundaries because if it's not reciprocated or feels unwelcome, it can obviously make someone uncomfortable. You have to be attuned to the other person's response.
Exactly. It's about being present and reading the room, so to speak. And related to that is what's known as frame control. It sounds a bit clinical, but it just means maintaining a confident, high value demeanor. You're not desperate, you're not needy.
Right. It's like if you say hi directly and someone isn't responsive, having the confidence to just disengage immediately sends a powerful message. It's like, okay, that's fine. I'm good either way, which ironically can sometimes make them more interested.
It's really about valuing your own time and presence. And once you've made that initial connection, whether it's through body language or a great opening line, the next challenge is sustaining the conversation. That's where follow-up comes in.
Yeah, transitioning from, hey, nice jacket to, so what brings you here tonight? Or what do you do for fun? Keeping it flowing, adding humor, asking open ended questions that genuinely show interest, that's key. You don't want to overdo it though. Sometimes being a little too eager can actually shut things down.
It's a delicate balance for sure. Now, Mia, we've been talking about these strategies, and they can be incredibly empowering for people who are, a bit shy or just want to improve their social interaction. But it's also true that these kinds of approaches have sparked a lot of discussion over the years, some of it quite critical.
Oh, absolutely. While many people find these methods helpful for building confidence and overcoming social anxiety, there's definitely a counter narrative. Some critics argue that certain techniques converge on manipulation, especially if they're not used authentically.
Right. There's a concern that if the goal isn't genuine connection, but, I don't know, just, getting a number or something like that, then it can feel inauthentic. And some feminist critiques, for example, have highlighted how certain aspects, like maybe over-reliance on specific tactics, can sometimes be perceived as coercive or objectifying, even if that's not the intent.
Yeah, and there have been public figures associated with these ideas who have faced significant backlash for really pushing boundaries too far or promoting less ethical approaches. It really underscores the importance of intent. Are you trying to connect with someone or are you trying to perform a technique?
It really boils down to, I think, authenticity and respect. Supporters would say these are tools to help you be more confident and initiate conversations, which is a good thing. But the moment it moves into trying to trick or manipulate someone, that's where the line is crossed. And frankly, it just doesn't lead to genuine connections anyway.
Precisely. The goal should always be to create a comfortable, respectful interaction where both people feel at ease. The techniques are just a way to open the door, but what happens beyond that has to be rooted in real human connection and mutual respect.
So, Mia, as we wrap up today's episode of Dating Decode, we've really covered a lot about that all important first step, saying hi.
We sure have. from the bold and confident direct openers, like just walking up and saying, "Hey, I saw you and wanted to say hello," to the more subtle indirect approaches where you might, ask for directions first.
And then, of course, the observational ones, which are great for leveraging your surroundings, like, "That's a cool jacket. Where'd you get it?" Each one has its place, and really, the key is finding what feels right for you and the situation.
Exactly. And regardless of the technique, what really came through today is the crucial role of authenticity and respect. These are simply tools to help you initiate connection, to break the ice.
Yeah, it's about being present, being genuine. And remember what we said about that mutual respect and consent? That's the foundation for any successful interaction, whether you're using a direct line or just, commenting on the weather.
Absolutely. It's about opening doors, not forcing them open. And while these approaches can certainly boost your confidence, real world adaptation and reading the person in front of you are always going to be paramount.
Couldn't agree more. So thank you everyone for joining us on this decoding journey today. We hope this has given you some valuable insights and maybe a little more confidence for those first hellos.
Thanks for tuning in. We love hearing from you, so be sure to reach out with your thoughts or any topics you'd like us to decode in future episodes.
For Dating Decode, I'm Jake.
And I'm Mia. We'll catch you next time.